right, it is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse with me as usual. Patrick, how are you?
I am pretty darn good today, I would say. I was up half of the night reading the paper after I woke up, so I'm a little short on sleep, but outside of that, I'm in good shape. So anyway,
I don't know what it
I'm
was.
good
I,
now.
I woke up at like 5 o'clock today too. I couldn't sleep anymore. I don't know what the deal was.
Yeah, I don't know. Sleep is overrated. It used to be
Mm.
a. I always heard about this guy. They used to have the thing called the Big Ten Skyriders, which they flew around and did. I never went on it, but my friend Augie and a couple other guys
Uh-huh.
did. And they'd fly from they'd go to each Big Ten school for the football preview back in the day. The
Okay.
Big Ten Sky Raiders, all these little towns from West Lafayette, stuff like that. There was
Got to go
some, I
to
think,
18 places now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now you have to run a jet, but
Seriously.
the Skywriters, and there used to be a hard, and the Skywriter of the year, they used to vote on him, and he generally was the guy who got hammered the most often on the trip, and his motto was some Greg, somebody from West Lafayette or someplace, and his motto was "Sleep is overrated."
Yeah.
And that was his motto.
Well,
So yeah, that probably wouldn't float anymore if you said, okay, now that we've talked to your athletes, where's the whiskey?
right. Yeah.
Where's the
Right.
free booze? Let's
Right.
go. Come on, man.
Yes,
So
they've they've
anyway,
they've generally put that away.
mhm.
Well, it was a busy weekend. Caitlin Clark was in town. You were there. Lots going on in that game. You have a story to tell, but maybe let's talk about the game first. The Lynx lose. Caitlin plays pretty well. Lynx are without Nafisa Collier, so that explains some of that. Head coach Cheryl Reeve was not in the mood to talk about the Olympics at all. She was like, why are we talking about that right now with Clark not being on the Olympic team? Reeve, of course, the head coach. So some subplots there, but mostly almost 19,000 fans and a good day at the gate, even if it wasn't a good day in the standings for the Lynx.
And the loudest roar in the history of a victory for the visiting team. It was
Yes.
unbelievable. I mean, I will say the Lynx had support. Okay, there were the
Right.
usual 7, 8,000 rooting for the
Right.
Lynx, but when the Fever was pulling ahead down the stretch and
Mm-hmm.
going to win the game, the arena got very excited. And when they finally came down with a rebound and came out, and the Lynx walked the ball up when it was over, there was a roar of approval from all the Iowa fans,
Yes.
and a lot of them had Fever T-shirts. They've sold a
Okay.
lot of those, and then Caitlin T-shirts, and she's done wonderful for merchandise, and it's still the. Now I ended up writing about Monica Zanano, was her center for 3 years, and Monica just played
Right.
8 months in Hungary, and
Okay.
now she's back, and she was her mom and her sister had the worst seats in the building because
Yeah,
they
that was
forgot
funny.
to get them. They were way
Right.
up at top.
Right.
And but when Monica came down and she was trying to make her way down to first of all say hello to Caitlin's parents, and then get down to see Caitlin, but she got stopped and she signed autographs for 10 minutes for this absolute mob of little kids who saw
Oh, sure.
Monica, and it was just like when you used to see the Iowa team here for the Big Ten tournament, and they'd
Mm-hmm.
sign autographs after games, and these young kids. I mean, it's a phenomenon. There's no doubt about it. I always talked about seeing Caitlin as a. By the way, I pay tribute to myself. This is the first Caitlin column I wrote that I didn't mention that I discovered her. But anyway, anyway, I figured the legal limit was about four of those, so I gave that up today. But it's amazing how they just they've all the little kids in Iowa got their T-shirts, and most of them say Caitlin, but they all know who Monica Zanano is because she
Mm-hmm.
played center with them, and they know their team, and it's. But the first time I saw them, they drew about 8, 9,000 against the Gophers one day, and they were
Yep.
very satisfied. And now Now there's 18-9 there in
Yeah,
Minnesota. See the links. They got to open the upstairs, and it is a phenomenon. But she didn't play that well yesterday at all. She was fine, as usual. She's had those. She had those clunkers here before in the Big Ten tournament where she could
yes,
make a shot in the first half, and then
right.
she kind of got her going, and she ends up getting her points, and she made some decent plays down the stretch to help win the game, but she wasn't that good. But it was just a really great scene, and they weren't quite as lined up out in the hallway an hour and a half before the game
Yes,
as they were in the past when she was here in the college level. But there's no doubt about it. It is a phenomenon, and she handles it incredibly well.
yes.
She signs autographs. She will not. It's as much as the cheap shots she's taken physically and stuff like that. She won't whine. Now she did get a T because she tried to wave. Well, it was McBride, right? She tried to wave
I think so.
McBride away and hit her in the face and hit her near the eyes. So they called it technical. I don't, and they didn't call it originally, but Reeve asked for a review on that.
Okay.
By the way, WNBA reviews, you can go out and move your car out of the parking lot and come back by the time these jackasses get done looking at. They can't make a decision. I was reading something about a game that was on TV that people were all complaining about, that they were like 7 to 8 minute reviews to
Really?
see who touched the ball before it went out of bounds. In this case, you're in the middle of the third quarter, and they they're looking to see who's got possession. I think in the NBA you can only do that like the last 2 minutes, right? But it was
You got like a
it was
challenge,
it,
but yeah,
it,
right.
it was some modest thing, and it took like, it didn't make any difference. It was the middle of
Right.
the third quarter, and it took like 8 minutes. Come on, you morons! It's unbelievable that I continue to insist the worst thing in the history of sports is reviews. But anyway, then it was replays. But anyway, it was a bad loss because they don't have Collier, as you said, and
Right.
they win the game if they have Collier, but
Yes.
they aren't very good. And well, let's face it, Reeve looks stupider and stupider for not having drafted Angel Reese, because
Right.
Angel Reese is a big presence near the basket, and that's exactly what they need. And this other kid doesn't play.
No.
Pilly doesn't play.
No.
And it's you can make every excuse you want. They didn't want the big personality, it ruined the chemistry, blah, blah, blah. She's a big presence, and she can rebound, and she'd be playing 22 minutes a game for you inside, and you'd be instead of being a good team that might win a couple of games in the playoffs, you'd have a chance to win the title if you had her, and
Yeah.
with Collier healthy. So that's, I mean, it's an embarrassment that they didn't draft her because they didn't want a big personality. I mean, it's one of the look at what a screw up it is in the history of drafting around here and anywhere. When you had a chance to draft a great player and you drafted a nobody,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So anyway,
Yeah. Well,
but
she would have given him a chance to play differently, right? Like I know their style is they shoot a lot of threes. They like to play kind of that,
yes,
five out offense sometimes. And Collier is definitely the linchpin of that as a big who can
yes,
kind of play however you want her to play. But sometimes you do have to get a rebound or play differently than
yes.
how you want to play. And she would have given him a chance to do that.
And Boston ate them up yesterday. I mean, 16 rebounds, and she's good. I mean, she's big and strong, and she's gonna do her thing, Boston. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, they shot the three pretty well yesterday and still got
Yep.
beat. Carlton was great. She made five, I think she made, and
Yeah. She's been really good this year.
they had a much better percentage shooting threes, at least like. And I remember looking at the box score at halftime or in the third quarter or something, and they were 10 out of 25 or something like that, and Carlton was she's a good player. She's
She
she's a
turned into a
good
really good
player.
player.
And the unpronounceable Cece was pretty good too when she got in there and played. But coming off the bench, I mean, they get some good players, but it's just the the big presence that they still needed. Even when Collier plays, they need a big presence, don't they?
Yes, they
And
do.
they don't have one, and
No,
they could have had one, and they didn't take her. And
no.
I don't care how big her personality is. She improves attention and attendance too. So
Yes, yes.
anyway, I mean, they're still, they're going to be in the playoffs, and they uh, they could make a little run, but and they'll
Yeah,
get Collier back. It's
as
a
long as
weird
she's healthy. Yeah.
season.
Well, yeah, because you got a month
It's a
off.
weird season because you take a month off. So we'll see what happens when everybody gets back. But Cheryl's going to have to tamp down her feistiness a little when she gets over to Paris, don't you think? And
Probably. I
become
don't know
more
that.
of a become more of a PR person than she is around here. She's been pretty much a tyrant this year as far as people trying to ask her questions, but about certainly about the Olympics and stuff. But
Yes.
and then that Caitlin not making the team, but she's gotten a bad rap for it. She hates Caitlin. She
Oh yeah,
does
she
not.
doesn't. No, of course
Her
not.
early quote was, "The league is more than one player." It
Which is
wasn't Caitlin.
true. It's
Yes,
true.
that's what she was
Yes.
saying. That was not, I hate Caitlin Clark, which
No.
people, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Caitlin Clark's a little bit like Taylor Swift. You say like one thing that might be construed as
yes.
like marginally negative, and you get 1,000 people, 100,000 people. They're like, "Well, how could you say that?"
Yes.
There's a little bit of that to it.
And I got a lot of heat when I wrote the column saying she shouldn't be on the Olympic team. And after watching it yesterday, it's pretty clear she shouldn't be on the Olympic team.
Well,
She's a
she already
good
said
player, but she's not a great player.
and she already set their
She's not a
turnover
great.
record. She set the turnover
Yes,
record
yeah.
for a single season. There's what 15 games left this year, and
15 games left.
yes, that's
Well, the
amazing.
schedule is a little longer than it
It
used to
is,
be,
but
but
not that much
still,
longer. Not that much
still,
longer. Yeah,
she got 15 games left, and she's
yeah,
thrown it away 139
that's a
times. And
lot.
first play of yesterday's game, she threw it away.
Yeah,
So she's one reason, as I wrote in the column, is she doesn't have Monica anymore. When she threw
no,
it to Monica, Monica caught it.
yes,
you know, she was
yes,
always 4 feet away from the basket, a big gal in there, but she could catch that little bunny and turn around and shoot
yep,
it and get fouled and shoot a free throw. So she
yep.
was that was kind of fun to see the greeting that Caitlin came out of the tunnel, and then she saw, as I wrote in the column, and
Yeah.
then she saw Monica, and she did what she did and after so many games, went and jumped into those big strong arms, and
Yeah.
then they hugged each other and had a good old time. But yeah, it was. So I should tell you about the
Yeah, what
near
happened to the cell?
disaster.
Yeah, what happened to the
So
cell phone?
I'm
Tell me about
I'm
that. Yeah.
clomping around, getting down those steps because
Oh
I
yeah.
want to talk to Monica after
Yep.
she's done meeting Caitlin, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so I get in the. I'm going to sit in the chairs where the players sit, and
Okay.
then because
Oh sure.
this is 20 minutes after the game,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I can
so
picture it.
I did. There's some I don't know refuse there. It looks like, and there's a garment there,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden, Caitlin comes over and says, "You stepped on my cell phone."
Oh no.
There was a cell phone in this garment that
Oh
she
no.
had down there in the sidelines, and I obviously did not step on it
Right.
directly, else there would be no cell phone. But let's say I didn't put my full bulk on her cell phone, but
Okay.
she said, "You stepped on my cell phone," and I'm thinking, that wouldn't be good.
No.
Maybe she keeps all of her great moments in this cell
Right.
phone.
Right.
There could be a lifetime of treasures in that cell phone that I just stepped on. But she she wasn't really cross about it, but she said, "You stepped on my cell
Well,
phone." I said, You
Sorry.
know,
Yeah.
so and then she
Did
just
she check
went
it and make
back.
sure it was okay? Did she? Were you?
Yeah,
Do we know if we can?
she kind of glanced at it. It was I did it
Okay.
was it wasn't
Okay.
the glass wasn't broken or
Okay.
anything
All
like
right.
that.
Well, that's
So
good.
it
That's good.
wasn't. I think I stepped on her object that had the cell phone in it, but I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
what it was doing on the floor
Okay.
there. So I
Yeah.
don't know what it was. So
Maybe
anyway,
don't leave. Maybe don't leave it on the floor is what I'd say to that. But I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you didn't break it. I'm glad you
No,
didn't break her cell
that
phone.
would have been the sidebar on this. That was
Yes.
if I'd broken it. The man who discovered Caitlin Clark just shattered her
just
cell phone.
just destroyed all of her memories. Oh
Yes,
man.
yes. Remember all those? If you took any pictures of her at the ESPY, send them because she doesn't have them anymore.
Right. Right.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's funny.
Mhm.
We probably should move on. I want to talk a lot about twins, but maybe we should talk Jordan Addison next because we had the suspected another suspected incident on the road. What are we calling this one officially? Suspected DWI out in
Yes, well,
California.
he's
Fell asleep
apparently
at the
sleeping
wheel.
in a car at 3:15 in the morning and it blocking a lane on an LA
Yes.
freeway. He's lucky he's alive, for God's sakes, the way they
Yes.
fly along there. If this is what occurred in a Rolls Royce, by the way, as opposed to the incredibly expensive
Right.
sports car that he was driving, that he was going 140 miles an hour in. And
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I saw the little tweet. I think it was deleted. I think he
Mhm.
closed down his Twitter file
Okay.
after the DWI, but I couldn't find it again. But
Hmm.
when Jackson got killed, Kyrie, he
Oh,
says
right.
he had a little thing in there, kind of a pithy remark about uh, good journey, like
Hmm.
going to heaven or something.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, I hope I want to. I was waiting more for the decision. We haven't seen yet the investigative
Yes.
results of the investigation. I think we all
Right.
suspect they're racing
Yes.
and these people. And so I'm thinking, this takes a lot of guts for this moron who is driving 140 miles an hour to, it's it's doing stuff like you were doing that led
Hmm.
to this death, pal.
Yeah.
And driving 140 miles an hour, I still can't believe that he didn't do a month in jail for going 140.
Yeah.
That's gotta be that's
Or that the
yeah.
team didn't do more, or that they almost like
Yeah,
treated it. Yeah, they just kind of.
they suspended him for what without pay for a week or something
I
during
don't even. Yeah.
training camp or some
Yeah.
damn
Not
thing.
much. Yeah.
I don't know. It was not much at all. And and then they took they released the team releases a statement about how I regret my actions and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Well, this is I got to think if this is true.
Yeah.
As
Yeah. What
BWI,
are they going to do? Yeah.
the league's going to step in for
They might.
sure.
This is too
It
big.
just-
This is two pretty significant incidents at this
yes,
point.
and this coming what 8 9 days after the
Barely. Yeah.
Kyrie
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
killed in the car crash. And the other thing is, you saw this. This ESPN's had a couple of shows about broke athletes.
Hmm.
Guys who had a lot of money and then
Yeah.
frittered it all away. With the cars this guy's driving, he's going to be broke if he doesn't have a career here. He better watch
Yeah.
himself. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is the league. The Vikings got to take action. They got to
They
like
got to
suspend him for the first month of the season or something.
something.
Maybe let him practice, let him go in the exhibition games, but not. They can't play him if this is true for some time. I mean, you got to take some kind of an action. You got to hurt him
Yes.
financially, and you got to take some kind of an action. This is ridiculous, and they're looking foolish too. So
Yes. Well, and
anyway,
is this, you can't control somebody's actions. People are going to do what they do, but, you do wonder, like, when you don't do enough, when he
the
goes
first time,
140, does he,
yes,
did he really learn a lesson, or is this, does the behavior, is he emboldened to behave like this again. I don't know. And again, the Vikings can't take 53 or 90 guys or however you want to define the roster and dictate however one of them is going to behave. Everybody brings their own personality, their own background, their own history into the organization. But yeah, I thought their treatment of it last year was too light, and they got to come
not
down.
only,
Something's got to happen now because otherwise, how bad does it have to get, right? How bad does it have to
yeah,
get
that's
before you
true.
do something?
And the other thing is that not only the Vikings, but the authorities on it last
Yes.
year. They
Hmm.
let him walk too. I
Yeah.
mean, basically, the state of Minnesota let him walk. They suspended his license for 30 days or
They
60 days
they
or some
fined
damn
him
thing like that.
like $700 or something, which
Yeah,
to
right.
him
Now,
is
this has got
nothing.
to be a felony going 140.
140 and a
Three
55, right?
at
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, saying your dog was sick, going
Dog
the
emergency.
opposite direction of where you live.
Right.
So, it was an obvious nonsense excuse. And, he showed up and he had a pretty good season. And, he's JJ's little brother and all that crap.
Hmm.
Well, if this is true, then it sure seems like it. The LA Daily News reported and
Hmm.
everybody else.
Yeah.
You're sleeping drunk at 3:30 in the morning on an LA freeway on a
That's
Rolls
not good.
Royce.
That's not good.
Something's got to be done. Yeah,
Yeah. Something's got to
something's
be
got
done.
to be done.
And if they let's say they do suspend him, that would I mean it'll take a little fortitude in terms of how the season goes because you think about the start of next year,
Yeah,
probably Sam Darnold's going to be a quarterback. Hawkinson's not going to be ready for the start of the year after tearing his knee up at the end of last season. I don't think anyway. So then you got like Darnold throwing to Jefferson, which is great, and nobody
hmm
else. And so and the start of their year is a tough schedule. So I don't know. It would. The point of that is that they are counting on Jordan Addison heavily, and so
yes.
I hope that doesn't. I hope
I
if
don't
they
think
think,
it's.
I hope it doesn't weigh too much into their decision on what they have to do here.
I don't think it's all up to them, though. I got to
Assuming
think
it's all
they're
true.
hearing from. I don't
Yeah.
think it's all up to them.
No,
I'm sure
probably
they're
not.
hearing from the league on this one.
Yeah,
So
maybe,
anyway,
maybe. Yeah.
he's yeah. This is to say this is poorly timed is unbelievable.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
way
After
beyond that.
Jackson.
It's
Yeah.
way beyond that. After
Yeah.
the and then of course we had the candlelight vigil on Jackson
Oh gosh, and
for
people
Jackson
got
and the other
shot.
guy. And you got a drive-by shooting. You got to wonder about that collection of uh, of folks who were at the candlelight vigil. So
Yeah.
I don't know the memorial service. The Vikings were not. I checked. The Vikings had no people at the candlelight vigil, and they probably would. There'd be no reason to have them
No,
there, but they plan to attend in some form at the memorial service, which has
yeah,
got to be coming up here pretty
I
soon.
think
So
so. Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, not
not
the
a
off
good
season.
start.
No,
Not a
not a
good
good off
start.
season it's been. I mean, it's you try to this is supposed to be the quiet time, the only quiet time
Mhm.
there is in the league between mini camp and training camp. But camp's only a couple weeks away, right? They're going to open this
Yes,
thing up pretty soon and then we'll see what they've got. But yeah, this is not the this is not the off season in any way, shape, or form they would have drawn up.
I'm Chris Hine, Timberwolves beat writer at the Star Tribune and the first five-time guest in daily delivery history. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This work is made possible by our Star Tribune subscribers. For unlimited access to the articles mentioned in this podcast, our coverage of Minnesota sports from pros to preps, and even all of Rand's future blog posts about how the Timberwolves should trade for players they will never get, go to startribune.com/subscribe.
The Twins, Patrick, if I may make a transition here, lose 3-2 into the break, and not a great last few days. They kind of seem like a team that could use a few days off. Carlos Correa bowing out of playing in the All-Star game, at least to rest a new ailment, plantar fasciitis in the other foot.
other
That's not
foot.
great.
Yeah,
That's not
no,
great. Buxton slammed into a wall. Manny Margot made a mess out of a play in center field in the ninth inning yesterday to lose that game, although he had tied it for them with a big hit in the top of the ninth. So just
but
not a good vibe going into the break, but
well, they didn't.
overall, I think they'll take it.
they didn't hit the last week. All of a
No.
sudden, they
Right.
headed out of town. They were killing the ball, and they had that streak of they'd scored more runs than any team in baseball in
Yep.
ever since the end of April, and then all of a sudden they stopped hitting. And that's going to happen. I mean, they're up and down, and they're not really that potent of a lineup. They're okay, but all of a sudden the injuries start again. You already lost Royce Lewis. Now you got a banged up Correa, and you have Buxton hitting the wall, and you got Miranda out.
Right.
Miranda was fantastic for
Yeah.
2 weeks, and now he's got a bad back, and you don't know if that's caution. You get the impression they DL'd him because they just needed a body, for the
Yes. For one game. Yeah.
for one game to play, and they just figured with the All-Star breaks 5 days, for goodness
Yeah.
sakes,
It's
this
long
year.
now.
So you put him on a DL, you can retroactive him. You can probably have him back a week from today, on
I think,
Monday. So I
yeah.
think is that it?
I think
Basically,
it's
10
it's retro,
days.
it's retroactive to Wednesday, so yeah, I think it's pretty quick. He might be back even sooner. But then they
Yes,
played
but
Vasquez at third base, right?
yeah,
They
one
played
day they
yes,
played him at third base. He hit him
yeah.
one ball. He didn't see it, but I mean, it's they somehow miraculously won that game. And yesterday they did. Blake Snell, who had been a complete bust when he got to the Giants, and then they put him on the DL, and he pitched. He came back and he pitched pretty good. And yesterday he had a no into the seventh. Right, he did
Perfecto. What? I think it was a perfect game going into
perfect
the
game
seventh.
into the seventh inning, and I looked at the basketball game, and they were in the seventh inning already. It had to be an hour and 20 minutes or
Yeah.
something. I mean, the game was absolutely flying because they just went up and down, and I don't know. And Margot hacked up a ball. I didn't see it, but I'm not surprised. He's terrible in the field.
He was supposed to be
Funny.
good. He was supposed to be a good fielder.
Well,
That's what we were
I,
told, at least.
I,
He's no Michael A.
I
Taylor.
They Mark Topkin, who does a great job covering the Rays. He's the one
Hmm.
beat guy down there because they only have one paper. And I asked him when the trade. I called him and asked him when the trade was made, and he said he was a good player a couple of years ago, but he said he was terrible in the field. He had a
Hmm.
really poor year in the field last year now, and then
Yeah.
when they traded when the Dodgers got Glasnow from them,
Right.
they made them take Margot.
Okay.
They made them take him as part of that trade to get rid of him because they'd given him a pretty good contract. And I think when the Twins got him back from the Dodgers, or got him from the Dodgers paid a big hunk of that
Okay.
salary too. So I don't think he's costing them much. But I don't like him as a player. I just don't like him. He's a mediocre hitter at best. He can get a hit off a lefty once in a while, but he's a hack in the field. He's been terrible for the Twins in the field, and he butchered a couple three balls in left field, and then he made stupid decision. I mean, everything you read about play it as a single for goodness sakes, and everything's fine, right?
Right.
And instead he
Or a
dives
double at
and
the
turns
worst. Yeah.
Todd dives and turns it into a triple, and then they throw the ball in.
Yeah.
It's as somebody said, it was a little league inside the
Yes.
park home
It
run.
was.
So,
It's kind of what it looked like.
and you give away the game. Paddock apparently pitched fairly well, and I don't know about him. I don't know if he's going to get to the finish line. They need
Right.
another starter, in my opinion. And but they win one, so I think they'd won what 6 straight series. They'd won 2 out of 3 because
Six or seven. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was
and
six.
then
Six straight series. Yeah.
they lost the series, didn't hit, but they haven't hit for a week. So
No.
the break is a good time. This is another sign of the stupidity of Major League Baseball, though, having a 5 day All-Star break in the middle of July when you're driving, when you're primo attracting people. Start your weekend series on Friday somewhere every year. It's so stupid. stupid. It's unbelievable. Players want another. Well, the hell with you, players. You're getting 4 days off, and the All-Star guys deserve another day off. No, they don't. They get to go to the All-Star game. They get back on Wednesday. They get Thursday off. They play baseball on Friday.
It's fine. Yeah.
Baseball could screw up a one-car parade. There's unbelievable what stupid things they do. And this is one of them. Anyway, I don't know about this team though. If they start getting hurt, they're going to go right in the tank. Kepler's cooled off tremendously, and he's okay now. But that's interesting too. I don't think there's a market for him, but they're going to let him walk. He's going to end up walking as a free agent, and that might not be all bad because I don't think there's a big market for him anyway. So, as far as as far as what you could get for him, it's not that good anyway. I don't think so. And the other thing, Mike, is that the trade at the baseball trading deadline, mediocre outfielders are not a hot commodity.
No, pitching. You want pitching. Everyone wants pitching.
Everybody wants pitching and prospects. And so you can go get a pitcher, but you're gonna have to give up a couple of your prospects to get it. They got this injury problem throughout. I guess it's just all sports now and all baseball, but they got it through the whole system. This Emmanuel Rodriguez, who's supposed to be the hot shot at Wichita, he hasn't played in weeks because of a sore finger or something. And he's played about 20 games down there. He misses every game. This Canarino, they're supposed to be their hotshot pitcher. He can find more shoulder and arm injuries than anybody. He's pitched 85 innings in like 7 years. And,
it's your theory. It's your theory, Patrick. The MRI ruined it. It's just used to be a sore shoulder. Now we know exactly what's wrong.
Yes, it is. Rub a little mud on it. But
they don't do that anymore.
I mean, it's throughout the whole organization. They just have an awful time keeping anybody healthy.
Yeah.
And this is, everything looked good when they left town a week ago. Everything looked good. Now it looks like a disaster again. So
that's the thing with this team. They had been consistent for a little while, right? Winning 2 out of 3, you're starting to feel good about it, and it's still just a little hard to figure, especially like if they're a little banged up and if their top end guys aren't going. It look bad in a hurry.
I said the constant, about a week ago. I said, baseball teams look pretty good when they hit. When they don't hit, they look pretty bad, and they don't. They didn't hit in San Francisco, and they didn't hit. They didn't hit before that, and so anyway, they're a curious collection, and we'll see who's actually playing when the season starts again. We haven't had any Reusse updates lately, have we? Did they think that after the All-Star game was a possibility?
Yeah, what we kept hearing at least was this isn't as bad as some of the other stuff that he's gone through, right? Like it's not going to be a 2-month thing. They don't think. It was probably more of like we're talking weeks, not months. And it's been a couple weeks now, right? So
no, it's been longer than that, hasn't it?
Has it been longer than that?
Yeah, it's been, because they were saying maybe after the All-Star game. So yeah, he's been gone for 3 weeks, hasn't he? Anyway, I don't know.
They all blend together at this point.
Brooks Lee's been a pretty good player for him.
Yeah, he's been great.
Except when he threw a ball in the dugout yesterday to end the game. But they're a curious outfit. They're still in good shape for a wild card, but Boston's coming on, and they're gonna. I don't think the AL Central is going to get 3 spots like they were holding there for a while. No. But Kansas City's playing good, and Detroit just they left here and had a great week. They just beat they beat the Dodgers. What, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3?
Yeah,
and they won a bunch of series. They came here. They weren't hitting at all, and they spent this week hitting. And Kansas City's good. So except for the Mighty Whiteys, the AL Central is not the cream puff that it has been. So for sure. So
Reusse has only been out 13 days. It was July 2nd.
Okay.
So we're getting
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Well, he's
but
got
by the time the
another.
break is over, it'll be about 3 weeks. So that
3 weeks. He's got. Yeah. I don't know. You got to make sure he's healthy, but
yeah,
what's the guarantee? I mean,
I know, right?
if he hurts himself jogging to second base, for goodness sake.
Well,
So
with their theory was that somehow this injury is related to the last one, right? That that the whatever you do to compensate, or if the muscle's not strong enough, your stride has changed in one way or the other. So I guess I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. You got to worry about a guy who's been hurt this much, don't you? It's like he's
Yes.
had he's had 346 career at bats at this.
Yes.
It seems like it's a lot more because he's done a lot with those 346 at bats, including of course the postseason last year. But at some point you got to put together a full year, or at least a full stretch. Like 346 at bats is like half a year. Like it's
Yes,
kind of it's
yes,
crazy at
right.
this
We
point.
got to go back to the days when the guys like Wayne Hadaway were the equipment manager slash trainer in the minor leagues, and
Right?
rub a little mud on their arm before they went out there and say, "See you in the second inning, pal," and
Right.
just when you stopped playing when you couldn't walk anymore,
Well,
So
well, and the thing these days too is if they do play through something, especially the NHL
yes,
guys or something, they sure let us know about it later if
oh
the
God,
performance suffered. It's like
yes,
we learn
right,
later. It's like, oh well, yeah,
yeah,
he was dealing with something for the
banged
last
up.
6 weeks of the year.
Yeah, but the other thing is Buck runs into the wall.
Yeah,
He's fine, but he doesn't play for 2 days anyway
no,
because he might be hurt.
yeah, an
Right,
abundance
yeah,
of
well, he's a little sore. Well, so what? He's a
when
little
they
sore. It's a long season. I know with his injury history, you don't want to do it, but you know, he hit the wall. He got up. You give him one day
yes,
off. Why didn't he play yesterday? He was ready to play. Well, we'll give him another day, and then he's got 5 days, and then we're all so worried about giving him all. Oh, if he doesn't play Sunday, then he's got a whole week off. Yeah, what good does that do? He was finally hitting. He'll come back. He won't be able to hit a wiffle ball, for goodness sake. So it's
yes
the
when they
caution is.
yes when they write the story about this era of sports and life, it will be
Yes.
called an abundance of caution. That's what it'll be
Yes,
called.
it will
And
be an abundance of caution. That is absolutely right. And, I've always said, can you play? It's not if you're 100%. Can you play
right,
today?
right.
The one sport where we don't have the abundance of caution is hockey.
Yes, yeah. We find out later he was playing on two broken legs and a
Yeah,
partially
right.
dislocated shoulder. That's why
Yes,
his performance suffered in the Stanley
suffer.
Cup
Yes,
Finals.
yes, it did. Anybody anybody who goes through a run to the Stanley Cup Finals
Oh yeah,
would have missed 100 baseball games by the time they
it's
you
true.
know
Yeah,
unbelievable. So
yeah, yeah.
anyhow,
I don't know.
that's my tirade for the day. Is that here's my other tirade.
Okay,
So I want soccer. What a great game, man. So I
okay.
turned on the Looney
Oh boy.
Tunes for about 5 minutes
Uh-huh.
the other day. 10
Yeah.
minutes. 10 minutes, start of the game. Nobody tries to do anything.
They're
They
feeling each
sit
other
in the
out.
middle of the field and kick the ball back to each other. What are you doing? Let's try to
We're
do something. What do
feeling each other out. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not feeling each other out because you're just kicking the ball back and forth. What are you trying to find out?
I don't
How
know.
they're moving, you know? And then I happened to turn to the Colombia
Argentina.
Argentina game, which got
Yeah.
started an hour and a half late, and Messi goes the great Messi.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's fantastic. He goes down. I thought they were going to have to come out and remove his entire leg. I thought they were just going to amputate it at the
Yeah.
middle of the thigh. It was so
Yeah.
bad. Then he got up and he was back playing. I don't know if he finished, but he was He got up and he started playing again.
Good thing he's not a horse.
I didn't know he was an actor just like the rest
Oh,
of them. I mean,
they all got to embellish it. They all got to sell it. Yeah,
but
it's
they've
amazing.
getting to the point now that the referees aren't that stupid, are
They're
they?
like, yeah, let's do a
And
little
then they
hand
all,
is like, get up, come on, get up. You're
but
fine.
then they all come over and start trying. Then four of his teammates are over trying to explain to the ref how he should. Why do their refs take so much abuse? Why don't they
I don't
just
know.
start throwing guys out of games?
They're supposed
You
to.
know,
They're supposed
stay
to do
away
that.
from me.
Yeah,
Stay
they're
away
supposed to
from
be
me.
able to do that, but they never do. It's all, they at least,
How would
yeah.
you? How stupid is a sport that plays on the biggest field in sports, and they got one ref? You got one guy jogging
Like,
along.
I'm doing my best, okay? I'm doing my best.
And then they get absolutely vilified by the
I know.
media,
Right.
for how he had a
It's like
terrible game.
one
How's he supposed
guy's
to see everything? And he's got
yeah,
6 different guys laying on the field,
right.
wincing and rolling around in agony, trying to convince him.
And not counting the goalies, there's 20 field players. It's like twice as many as you've got in hockey or football on a field that's like twice as big. Yeah, maybe two. Maybe you go with 2. Try 2.
Yeah, try something.
You got people checking the lines.
One
You got
one to call the penalties, and the other to call penalties for everybody complain. Anybody who complains gets a penalty.
Right.
Send them off because they don't let them come back off. Like you'd end up with a game of 3-on-3, for goodness sakes, if you stop them to complaining. God Almighty! If you think the NBA is bad for complaining, soccer is worse. Soccer is worse.
I don't know if we have anything to complain about for this one, Patrick, but let's finish here. Aurora 2 lost in the conference finals. Your thoughts?
They're training them well to choke in the big one, just like, come on now, the Aurora 2 are substitute players. We want to teach you how to get in the big game and then fold and choke up just like the A team. That's it's a very good training program.
I knew.
Are they ever going to turn pro?
Yes,
they either have to turn pro or we have to ignore them. We have to start ignoring them. There is nothing in the history of my newspaper business that I've seen as stupid as the amount of publicity our paper has given the Aurora. Okay. That's it. Let me say this, and this is a long career. This goes back.
It is a long career.
Yes. St. Cloud, 20 years, 20 years in St. Paul, 30 years in Minneapolis. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Big, long stories on the Aurora, which is an amateur women's soccer team that plays sports academies for the championships and gets beat, and we treat it like it's a big event. It is not a big event. If they become pro, okay. But they're not. They're just another, it's like the Northwoods League Collegiate Baseball is what it is. And we cover it like it means something. It doesn't mean it. Just because people show up doesn't make it an event. Okay. So anyway, that's what I got. But congratulations, Aurora 2. You've learned well from Aurora 1.
Oh, Patrick, that was beautiful. All right, well, we'll stop there. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about next week as well when the Twins maybe finally get back to playing. We'll talk to you next week, sir.
See ya.